We're back. It's Monday, October 17th, 2016. And I spoke to you yesterday on Sunday, John. Looks like you finished that Shoe Dog book by Phil Knight. You like that, huh?
Oh, my. It's the best book I've read this year. I think last year, Andrew, that book you turned me on to by David McCullough, American Caesar, about General MacArthur, I thought that might have been the best book I read last year. But this one, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Folks, if you want a great read, you've got to read Shoe Dog. It'll just grab you from page one.
Now, in full disclosure, we're listening to books. Does that count? I mean, a lot of people say, well, you're not reading. I'm like, who cares? It's actually better, I think. I'm like, so what?
Yeah, I agree. And when you're dyslexic like me, I don't know about you, Andrew, but when you're dyslexic, reading is a chore, but I can get through it. However, when I listen to it, because of the way dyslexic brains work, I remember every single line from that book. And it is so good and so rich, the history of Nike and when it was Blue Ribbon and all the trials and tribulations. And then, it's very little about him being a billionaire.
Yeah.
10 times over.
Yeah, I'm still early in the book, so don't tell me the ending of it.
I won't.
He becomes successful, right? Nike becomes a brand. Got it.
Believe it or
and
not.
Plus, I can't see you walking through the airport like face down in a book. Because then you can listen to it while you're walking and doing other things like you were yesterday.
Exactly.
You were headed out to New York. You're just like, yeah, I'm at LaGuardia. I just met 50 Cent.
Yeah, how cool was that? I was just walking through LaGuardia, and then I see 50, or Curtis.
50.
And I reached out my hand and I said, I'm not going to ask you for a picture or anything, but I love your work and I've enjoyed you. And he said, hey, man, thanks so much. He said, call me Curtis.
Wow.
So nice man. Nice
so you guys
man.
are on a first name basis. That's great now.
That's right. And Coffee, he's as big as me.
He's working out.
This is a seriously big dude. Not that I'm that big, but most rappers that you see are little skinny suckers. They might have some abs and some, arms, but they're little skinny dudes. He's 6'1" or 6'2", and
really?
Probably 220. He is solid.
So he's doing more than just watching girls dance on the poles in his basement. He's actually working out.
Yeah, I think he probably has a pretty good gym in his house.
Can imagine. All right, so you were headed to LaGuardia yesterday, and then the next thing I know, I see a picture of some, what is it, a Lamborghini or some, I don't know, purple car was on, what was that?
McLaren. A McLaren.
It's like the new Apple car,
That's the one that, yeah, I was going to say, that's the one that Apple was rumored to be taking a look at. Gorgeous car. I drove one today. Because, at this event, the Worth Power 100, it's, allegedly the 100 most powerful people in finance. And it's my second year being there.
Nice.
Great event. They raise money for charity. And every year they outdo each other, the previous ones. And this was just phenomenal. And Larry Fink, got to talk with Larry a little bit.
Who's
the chairman of BlackRock.
BlackRock.
Yep. And, what a success story. But that, they're not there just to tell you, oh, I'm so great, I'm so smart. He instead was telling us about all the bad things. He's telling me about risk and how he didn't manage it properly. When, for instance, he made $110 million in the first quarter with First Boston, and then he lost 130 in the second. He said, I couldn't believe that happened, and I was never going to let it happen again. And,
wow.
It's stories like that are, I think, cool when you're hearing how people, really live their lives and how they became successful. And for him, it's all risk management.
So you're up there, you're hanging with guys like Larry Fink, and we don't mean to drop names, but we are. But just kidding. So you're playing cards, it looks like. You're posting pictures of a couple hands of cards. What's the overall feel for the market in general? I mean, because obviously you're talking about more than just, cards and McLaren cars. What was the feel?
A lot of the folks up there, of course, that manage a lot of money are nervous. Larry Fink is nervous. You heard on CNBC today, I think both Gunlock and David Tepper are nervous. There's a lot of signs right now that no matter who our next president is, not only are they going to have some challenges, and Larry Fink brought this up to me. He said, John, I'll tell you what, anybody that thinks if Hillary's elected that all of a sudden the hate stops, he said the hate gets worse if she is elected. He's not blaming her. He wasn't picking sides, but he was just saying, everybody thinks that the curtain will come down and America will be back to being, all for one, one for all, or a majority for all. He said, exact opposite. He said, given how deadly the poisonous media has gone after Trump and how one-sided it has been, he said, he is totally going to be able to play the victim card. And he said, half of America is going to be so hateful because of that he said, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just telling you, if Hillary's the president, it's not the end of that hate. And that was an interesting insight that, a lot of people, he's not scaring people with that. He's just trying to say, don't think that you make this go away by electing our first woman president, because he said it's not about that. So It's very interesting, I thought.
You know how I have visions about stuff occasionally, right?
I do.
I know. I have visions all the time. I had a vision that Trump was going to win the nomination, and I was correct. I had a vision that it's going to come down to a couple key states, and this thing's going to be fought in the courts. I don't think it's going to be a decisive win. And watch out when that happens. Yeah, and they're going to fight it all the way. Also, one thing I heard many months ago was that they have to put a beating on Trump so bad as a repudiation of Trump's rhetoric. Forget beating him in the polls. They need to beat whatever came out of his mouth and whatever he's thinking down to a pulp. They have to kill it. So now they're talking about, okay, how do we sweep the election and kill Trumpism completely? And I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to come down to a couple key states, and they're going to fight tooth and nail. And then, that's when it gets fun. And, we'll just trade around it with a little bit of volatility. What do you think?
Right. Well, and you and I have been saying this for weeks, but vol is not going to be at 12 into this election.
Oh, no.
Volatility was at 12. We put on a lot of hedge positions for our clients, buying 30 Delta calls. Long story short, a 30 Delta call is an out-of-the-money call in the VIX, and those have paid off huge in the last few days. Had to take profits in them, but I still think you'll get another shot to buy either VIX call spreads or S&P put spreads, because they're going to introduce an amount of volatility. It might not be Brexit, but it might be pretty close to Brexit style as far as volatility into this election. And you don't want to be panicking when that happens. You want to be taking advantage of it.
Yeah, they were doing 17-21 call spreads today. Pretty big size, but it's the just in case it hits 25. So we'll see. What other stocks are you looking at?
Well, I'll just give you one because then I got to go. But Microsoft, MSFT, got some, 56 call activity in Microsoft. Granted, the stock's 57, but, watch that. There's somebody putting down some bets for the earnings that they're going to be good. That's my interpretation of it. It's not as heavy as I'd like to see yet, Andrew, but it is coming, and watch it, because Microsoft is only $1 off the 52-week and multi-year highs. It could break to the upside if this is a good report, and quite frankly, I think that's what it's going to be, a good report.
And they're buying them in the money, huh?
Yep, just in the money, $1 in the money.
It's kind of crazy. All right, well, we'll keep our eye out on that one. So you got a short week. You're not up in New York the rest of the week. That's great. You coming in tomorrow?
Well, no, I will be in New York. I'm flying home tonight for a client dinner.
What?
And then I'm flying right back out tomorrow morning. You know what, folks? If you hit us up and you say that you got a big account and we can bring you into Nigerian Family Office, you bet I'll show up for that meeting. And that's what we've been doing, Pete and I. And, you know, I am very proud to say that the firm is growing very quickly. And I flew in Saturday, Andrew, up to Minneapolis, and we got a nice big account. So if it means sitting down with some nice person and talking about their business and the future and telling them how we can manage risk and so forth, I'll do it. And I guarantee you I'll walk out of there with a check.
Nice. Making it rain. I like it. All right. Well, I'll hold down the fort while you're doing that, and we'll do the podcast maybe tomorrow if we get a chance.
All right. Love it.
All right. Take care.
Have yourself a good one. Remember, you can subscribe on iTunes or on YouTube, folks. Tell your friends about it.